opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Are we stopping for morning tea? Or we've only got one to go, haven't we?
Yeah.
We'll soldier on, eh? Item
Yeah.
12. Oh, we have
yes,
to.
we have to, so we could stop.
Oh, actually, well, hang on, we've got staff here. We'll just do this item. Come forward. Sorry for the confusion. And then we'll stop for a break. Yeah. All right. Our submission, another submission. God, we're busy, aren't we? On the fast track approvals bill. So fire away, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you very much. The fast track approvals bill has been introduced to Parliament, and submissions are invited on it until the 19th of April. This process and the draft submission on the bill is in respect of the contents of that bill, which is about the purpose of the bill to facilitate the delivery of projects of national and regional significance. It's about the Minister's involvement and the process that any project should go through. There is in the bill a schedule for projects to be listed, and separate from the bill, the Minister for the Environment is now inviting anyone to submit projects, and that period for that process ends the 3rd of May. So there's two separate processes in progress. One is the submissions on the bill. The second is a process for putting projects forward. And I'll just let Helena speak briefly about some of the changes.
The draft submission has been amended following the information session that we had with Council. Some of the notable changes include there's stronger concerns reflected regarding the lack of reference to environmental objectives. Further points have been added in the submission around the discretion and extent of ministerial power. Additional submission points have been added on alignment with local planning, and the section on managing impacts on council infrastructure has been strengthened. This was to reflect greater consideration around serviceability and alignment with local infrastructure planning. We also note that there's now a detailed appendix accompanying the submission that provides more technical submission points, but also further amendments have been made in relation to feedback that we've received.
Just before we go forward, I'd like to read this out on behalf of the Mayor. So the Mayor has been discussing what this bill could mean for projects here in Christchurch. So as a result, there's a suggestion here to propose an application for the Avon o Takaro corridor to now go in for consideration in the new bill. And as some background, in August 2019, Megan Woods announced that she had approved the Otakaro Avon River Corridor Regeneration Plan under Section 38 of the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Act 2016. Implementing the regeneration plan is a crucial part of the nationally significant regeneration of the city following the earthquakes. The plan supports the regeneration of the Otakaro Avon River Corridor, providing a vision and objectives for short, medium and long-term future land uses and opportunities for the 602 hectare area in East Christchurch. And as Megan said at the time, this is an intergenerational project, our chance to leave a legacy for the future. However, things don't always go smoothly here in Christchurch. There are huge delays, costs and inefficiencies in getting the consents and approvals needed for that network infrastructure. Council has programmed over 30 stop bank or water projects and other parks projects. Each requires multiple consents and approvals. This fast-track bill and approval of the OARC network infrastructure projects within it would be a great leap in delivering this nationally significant regeneration plan. So this has been supported by Naito Huriri and by the co-chairs of the Council's OARC Establishment Committee. So we would like to get the ball rolling on this as soon as possible, and putting an application in now for the project to be included in the bill is an opportunity to do this. So I move that we apply now for the OARC based on staff advice, and we've got the resolution listed in there, number 2. Yes. Okay. So I'll open it up for questions. Councillor Henstock.
Thank you. Notwithstanding the motion that's just been passed, seeking approval for the Takaro Avon River corridor to be one of those projects. Outside of this meeting here today, what is the process going forward for other projects to be considered in going forward for that funding?
We're currently liaising with other staff across the organisation, and subject to the outcome of those discussions in terms of other projects, our report would likely come to the 1st of May council meeting ahead of the due date of the 3rd of May.
Thanks for the question. Councillor Coker, did you have one?
Does number 2 in any way affect, I guess, our draft submission? Because on one hand we're sort of being quite cautious in our submission, and then on the other hand we're wanting to do this. I'm just wondering if that's at odds at all with each other, or if that's actually fine because it's a specific project.
In my opinion, that's not at odds with each other. The bill, as you say, is in cautious support of the fast track legislation. If it is going to be enacted, the council's submission seeks that there be amendments to it that better protect environmental outcomes and other outcomes for the community. Asking for those changes and asking for inclusion in the fast track process of what this council and central government in the past has said is a nationally significant project is consistent. The objectives of the Takaro Avon River Corridor project are very good environmental and community outcomes.
Yeah, so this doesn't conflict with any of the criticisms, if you like, that we've had of the draft. Yeah. Councillor Kewen, is there someone else over there?
Yeah, so just going to point 11 in our submission, because I've read this 3 times and it seems to kind of contradict itself, but persons acting under the Fast Track Bill must do so in a manner that is consistent with obligations under treaty settlements. The bill therefore does not require the expert panel ministers to adhere to the treaty. We're concerned at the lack of recognition of the treaty. So what are we saying there?
At the moment, the bill only refers to treaty settlements,
Right.
which are obviously agreements.
Yep.
Unlike the Resource Management Act and other legislation that
Goes to the treaty.
that's right.
Okay, so, but have we run that there, number 11, past Ngāi Tahu? Because, and what did they feel? They would like that, I'm picking, that it goes to the treaty settlement rather than to the treaty.
Through discussions with Tront in terms of the drafting of this submission, it was their view that it should go further in terms of referencing the treaty principles or the treaty. At the time of discussions with Tront, they didn't specify or have agreement around whether it was the treaty or the principles, which is why the wording is the way it is in the draft submission.
Right, but are they not in a better position if it says treaty settlements?
That's a question for Ngāi Tahu in terms of what they consider having greater benefit, but we consider reference to the tutility principles or the treaty itself as fundamental and is a part of other legislation that council acts under, and this should, and the government acts under, and this should be the same.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Councillor Donovan?
I'm sort of unclear around number 2, because in our submission we're talking about the risk between efficient delivery and insufficient kind of attention to some of the detail around the environmental issues. Is there a risk that we're pushing for fast tracking will have some unintended consequences in terms of the due diligence that we're giving to those areas as we're going through the consenting process? I thought that was the downside of fast tracking. So if we're putting projects forward for that, are we? Yeah.
In this case, that downside is mitigated because we're in control of what's put in front of the minister. So it's us who it's the council that prepares the application. So the council puts the information that the council thinks is necessary for the ministers to make a good decision.
Yeah.
Are there any other potential downsides? I mean, you're saying that so that one's mitigated. Are there any other things that we should be aware of in regards to putting this forward?
The one overarching, depending on your point of view, you might call it a downside, is that the ultimate decision maker is the ministers, and that's the case for all projects under the fast track. So the ultimate decision makers aren't an independent hearings panel; they are the ministers. Now, the council's submission as a whole expresses some reservations about how that's set up in the current draft of the bill. And the current submission seeks further constraint or rigour, if you like, around the way the ministers are required to make their decisions after they get independent recommendations from an independent panel. So that is a risk, but I don't think the risk is, in this case, significant.
Thank you.
Okay. So, if there are no other questions, has it been moved and seconded?
Yes, by yourself and Councillor Barber.
And we've got the addition there from the Mayor. So, if there any debate on this, or else I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much for that work. Right, so that takes us to the end of the public agenda. Could I have a mover to go into the PX for the one report? Councillor McDonald, seconded by, I'll let the Mayor second that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's carried. And we'll just now have a break.